As we travel back in time to 1967, a Goa that had just been liberated from the Portuguese in 1961 and still adjusting to the changes, we reach to where it all started. Ideas with regard to Goa's merger were making their way around. Goans were being asked to determine Goa's cultural identity, and their identities along with it. The atmosphere was tense. Dayanand Bandodkar, of the Maharashtrawadi Gomantak Party, staunchly supported it. He had just been elected as Chief Minister. It seemed that his voice, and that of those who backed the merger, was louder. Would Goa end up dissolving into something bigger? Eventually, some stood up against it. The United Goans Party, seconded by Goa Congress with Sequeira as their leader, was at the forefront. They pitched in their 2 cents on why it wasn't a good idea to merge Goa with Maharashtra. Yet as the idea gained momentum, it faced its own fair share of backlash. Dr. Alvaro Loyola de Furtado, one of the founders of United Goans, felt that it was precarious to let Goa's future be decided so directly. This ended up with him quitting Sequeira's party and challenging the opinion poll's constitutional validity in the Supreme Court. Needless to say, Sequeira's battle was long and hard, stretching over almost 2 years after a resolution was passed for the merger in 1965. He spoke up, raised his voice, stormed out of assemblies, and didn't stop until the battles were won. The leader of Goa Congress, Purushottam Kakhodkar, fought alongside him, getting the center to grant India's only referendum ever. Without him, it wouldn't have been possible. They had to start with making a constitutional amendment to allow referendums. After a rigorous battle, the day of the opinion poll dawned on a fine January morning in 1967. The referendum snuck in a few months before the general elections, with its entry validated by a special provision made in the Constitution of India. It's fascinating to know that the Indian Constitution didn't have provisions for referendums, and Goa's situation was big enough to demand one. On the 16th of January 1967, 81.7% of Goa turned up to have its say with a vote. Of this, 54.2% voted to keep Goa separate, against 43.5% for the merger. Goa would remain independent. Goa remained a union territory along with Daman and Diu that were supposed to be merged with Gujarat until 1987. 20 years later, it was split from the latter two, and Goa became India's 25th state on the 30th of May. Today, the 16th of January 2026, is the 59th anniversary of Goan's Identity Day, or Goensho Asmitai Dis, one that goes unacknowledged by many. Many historians believe that it should be demarcated as a national holiday, since that was the day that Goa called shotgun on its statehood. Even though it officially became a state only in 1987, the fight was already fought and won in 1967.
Arguments in favor of merger. Goa was too small to administer itself, and its effective administration would only be possible as a part of a larger state. Similarities between culture and traditions of Hindus in both the states. Strong historical and cultural ties with Maharashtra. The belief that Konkani is a dialect of Marathi, and that Marathi is the mother tongue of all Goans. The MGP had the backing of non-GSP Hindus, especially Bandodkar's Gomantak Maratha Samaj, immigrants from erstwhile British India, as well as the Maratha landlords from the Novas Conquistas. They were convinced that the only way to overthrow the existing dominance of the Goan Catholic majority and the Gaud Saraswat Brahmins was to merge into Maharashtra. After merger, these previously dominant groups would count for nothing within the vast Maharashtrian populace, and their influence would vanish. The MGP had promised that Goa would be granted several concessions after merger with Maharashtra. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Vasanthrao Naik, backed up these promises. Some of these promises were preferential treatment to Goans in government jobs, industrial and agricultural development, prohibition would not be applicable to Goa, government notices in Goa to be posted in Konkani, creation of a separate university for Goa, development of Konkani language.
Arguments against the merger? Konkani has been proven from archaeological records to be an independent language. It is not a dialect of Marathi. Konkani was underdeveloped due to the neglect of the language. Konkani would be supplanted by the Marathi majority and be lost permanently. Goa is a unique eastern place with a westernized cultural identity of its own, having been part of the Portuguese East Indies for over 450 years. If Goa was merged, Goan culture would be subsumed in Marathi culture and disappear. Goa would be reduced from a state to a backwater district of Maharashtra. Prohibition would be imposed in Goa, which had a significant rate of alcohol consumption and brewing industry. It would also affect the toddy tappers. Merger would result in a loss of jobs for Goans. The Shiv Sena, a Marathi regionalist party, had emerged in Maharashtra in 1966, which favored an ethnic discrimination policy, demanding preferential treatment for ethnic Marathis in jobs. It also spearheaded violent physical attacks against South Indian immigrants in the city of Mumbai, including Konkani-speaking Hindus from Karwar. If their move succeeded, Goans would be further sidelined for jobs in their own state.